do chapter 3.3, the slope of a line. And you need to memorize your slope formula. So your slope formula is rise over run, which is y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. That looks like a weird one. This is a 1. You will use this equation when you are writing, like when you're given 2 points and you have to find the slope. You will use this equation when you're given a graph and you have to calculate how far and far over the graph is. And I'm going to do 2 examples using those here in a second. There are some special slopes. There's something called a zero slope. So if you ever have a line that you can walk on, okay, that's horizontal, it is zero slope. I try to memorize that because Z stands for 0, and if you write a Z, the line looks like it's horizontal. You also know that if you ever plug in points and you get 0 divided by a number, that your answer is 0, so your slope would be 0. You have something called no slope, and that would be a vertical line. And if you plugged in points and you got a number divided by 0, you know that that's undefined, which means you have no slope. The way I memorize that a vertical line, an up and down line, is no slope is because N for no, it kind of makes like the up or down lines. So these are just little tricks. You don't have to use them, but it's just to help you memorize whether it's zero slope or no slope when you're looking at a graph. Let's get into example number 1. If I gave you 2 points, and let's say the points were -2, 3, and 4, -1, you would have to use your y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 equation. So I would label these so that you don't forget which one is which, because it's easy to make a silly mistake. And then you would plug them in. I would plug in -1 for y2, and it's going to be -3 for y1, x2 is 4, and x1 is a -2. And remember, it's minus a negative, so you know that these are going to become a positive, and this is like plus a minus. So 3 and 1 is -4, and 4 plus 2 is 6. You'd have to reduce this, so it would be -2/3, and that would be your slope, -2/3. Let's do another one for practice. What if I gave you the point 3, -4, and 3, 5? Again, I'd label my points so that I wouldn't forget which one's which. I'd plug them into this equation, so I would have 5 minus -4 over 3 minus 3. Well, this would become a positive, so it would be 9, and 3 minus 3 is 0. So you know that we have a number divided by 0. So if you look at your notes above, a number divided by 0 is a no slope. So your answer would be no slope, because a number divided by 0 is always undefined, which gives you no slope. Example number 2. If I ever gave you an equation and it was in standard form, just so you know, is when you have an equation that looks like this. So if you have an equation that looks like this and it's x plus y equals a number, you can use your formula, the opposite of a over b, and that will give you the slope. So your a is always in front of x, so we're going to have the opposite of 5, and your b is always in front of y, and that is a -2, so you have to put -2. So your slope would be 5 over 2. This is just a shortcut. Alright, example example number 3. Or let's actually make this B. We're going to make it example number 2. We'll make this one A, and then I'm going to do a B. Let's say I gave you the equation x minus y plus 1 equals 0. That is not in this form, but I can make it easily look like that. All I would have to do is subtract the 1 to the other side. And now it looks like this equation. So you take the opposite of A, which in this case is a 1, because there's a 1 in front of that x, it's imaginary, minus the 1 that's in the front here, the negative 1. And so your slope would just be 1. Example number 3, I could give you a point and have the point 21 and the slope of negative 3 over 4. And I could ask you to graph this. So if I asked you to graph this, and I gave you a point, you would start with that point, which is 2, 1, and you plot that point. And then you remember I gave you that rise over run equation at the top of your paper. This is the rise, and this is the run. Fit it in here. Rise over run. So the rise is up or down depending on the number, and the run is left to right. So when I look at the rise, I know that I'm going to go down 3 because it's a negative, and I'm going to run in the positive direction because it's a positive 4. So again, rise is up or down, run is left to right. So here I'm going to start with my point at negative 2, 1, and I'm going to count down 3. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to run 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I could do it again. I could go down 3 more and run 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'd be about right here. And whenever you're graphing a line, you want to make sure that you cross into both axes. If you don't cross into the x and y axis, both of them, then you're not going to get full points on your test. So you want to make sure you cross both axes. So instead of going down 3 and over 4, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to go up 3. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to run to the left now instead of to the right. So over 2, 3, 4. And that would be about right here. And this would be my line. And hopefully you draw better than I do. Okay, so let's do one more like that so you can see what it looks like. Okay. Let's make this A, so I'll do a B, and this will be our last example. If I gave you the point 1, 0, and the slope of negative 1 over 1, remember this is your rise over run, and you're going to look, and this is at this number, and you know you're going to go down because it's a negative, and to the right because it's a positive. So I'm going to draw an XY graph. I'm going to start with the point 1, 0. I'm going to go down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, and I draw my line and I go, okay, I have to cross the other axis, so I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, and I'll do another one just to make my line pretty long, and now I can connect all my